started. So were you in spelling bees when you were younger?
I was. I won my fourth grade spelling bee, which you think is a big deal, but it's not because there were only 8 people in my grade in my Catholic school. And then I went on to regionals and I lost in the first round on the word radish. I spelled it with 2 D's instead of one. It was devastating. And obviously, I've remembered that for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's so is it really a similar process? Because I noticed in the movie, it's like, okay, what's the word? What's the origin? Using a sentence. Have you noticed that? Because I'm sure you looked at other spelling bees competitions too. Is that usually the process?
So that is the process. But as a kid, I wasn't trained. My parents didn't set me down and have spelling bee sessions with me. I was just a reader and I enjoyed spelling and I enjoyed writing. So I just did the spelling bee. We all had to do it in our grade. And so I didn't know those rules going into it, which is you want to ask, can you please repeat the word? Definition, please, language of origin. And all of those questions help you get more time to think about spelling the
Oh,
word.
okay.
It's all a part of, the master plan of spelling bee winners. And so when I got to regionals, I was super nervous being on stage for the first time in front of a huge audience. And I just blurted out the wrong spelling of radish. And I sort of wish I had been just a little bit trained for that.
So tell me a bit about the process of making this movie from when it was kind of like a baby idea to now it's going to be on Netflix.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I had the kind of the small spelling bee experience. And then fast forward to the year 2015, when I was in a comedy sketch writing class at Upright Citizens Brigade. And I wrote a sketch titled, Where Are They Now? Spelling Bee Winners. And if you look them up, if you Google them, they're all doing really great, amazing things. They're working at NASA. They are developing vaccines. They are winning the World Poker Tour. And so in my sketch, the one young woman at the end of the sketch has not lived up to her potential. She's still living at home in her parents' basement and smoking weed and just not achieving anything else. And so that 4-page sketch was the premise of the feature film version of Definition, Please, which I started writing in 2017, finished writing in 2018, and we filmed it in 2019.
Wow, okay. And how did Ava and Mindy become involved as producers, and how was Levar a cameo?
Yeah, so in early 2020, we finished the film and we were about to have our premiere at the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival in late March, early April of 2020. And of course, COVID happened. So that put a severe dent into our festival plans, and we adapted and we pivoted to the virtual film festival circuit. And it was actually the best thing that ever happened to us because we got a lot of great press, a lot of great reviews, and we built up a fan base along the way, which was really cool, and playing it in different regions across the country. And Mindy heard about it and she mentioned it during a public forum, and she mentioned my movie and she mentioned my name, and my friends were texting me about it and I was like, what? That's so cool. And then I tweeted at her and I said, thank you for shouting out our movie. That's awesome. And then we got the film to her and she watched it and she really enjoyed it, and she posts about it on social and stuff. And then she became executive producer, which was really, really amazing. And then with Ava, I have known her socially. So I've met her at a lot of events in Hollywood and we follow each other. And then I believe we had our LA Asian Pacific Film Festival in-person screening in October of 2021. So it was almost a year and a half after we were initially supposed to have it. And it was this really amazing event where we got to watch it in a theater, COVID safe, of course. with an audience, and people were laughing. And then a little bit after that, a week after that, in November or so, Array reached out, which is Ava DuVernay's distribution company.
Awesome. And how did you get that cameo with Levar?
Yes, I forgot you mentioned Levar. So Levar is just an amazing story. I have a blurred brunch group, which is Black and brown nerds that hang out every Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And we have brunch. And even during the pandemic, we met through Zoom. And so before the pandemic, we were sitting at brunch in person, and Levar walked by the restaurant, which is like such a LA thing to happen, you know? And Yvette Nicole Brown is one of our friends and part of the brunch as well. And she saw him and she's like, oh, I know Levar. I've worked with him. I'm going to bring him in and introduce him to all of you. So he came in, super nice, sat down. He was like, take out your phones. Please take my number. And we were all like, freaking out. Like, so just a good-hearted person. And then it was around the time that I was in pre-production for Definition Please, and I had this specific role for him. And I just texted him and I asked him to be in the movie, and I had sent him kind of the little scene that he would be in, and he said sure, and he came out and he shot a day. And what was so exciting is after we shot, he said to the kind of the really small cast and crew that were gathered, he's like, so does anybody want to take a picture with me? And everybody took a picture with him, and it was just like a sweet gesture, you know, because he's such a legend. So it was beautiful to have him be a part of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. You had talked about before that kind of the model minority myth, and I know in a lot of different communities that being kind of the perfect daughter, the perfect child has different expectations. What would you say that would be in your community?
In our community, we grew up, and to be honest, I'm from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, which is where the movie was shot. It's about an hour east of Pittsburgh. And there's a very large Indian American community there. There's 2 temples that we all go to. I took dance classes at the temple on Sundays. And what I did notice is that we were under a lot of academic pressure. And so we were all in the AP classes. We were all trying to get into the Ivy League schools. What scholarship are you getting? What extracurriculars are you in? Are you on student council? Are you doing all these things so that you can get into Harvard or Yale or Stanford? And honestly, a lot of my classmates went on to become doctors or work in finance or lawyers or engineers. And another thing, the other side of that coin was that pressure really wreaked havoc on all of our mental health. And I noticed that, you know, a friend or an acquaintance would run away from home for a couple of days, and his parents would say, what happened? Like, what? We give him everything. He has a house over his head. He gets to eat. And we didn't have a word for it. We're like, oh, he's depressed, or he's anxious, or, you know, he's definitely going through something, but nobody would talk about therapy. You know, it just wasn't in our vocabulary to bring that up. And so I think for me, I really wanted to highlight mental health, especially in our community where it's so much of a taboo secret. And I want people to start communicating about it.
Yeah, speaking of those scenes with your brother in the movie, like it was a bit scary and disorienting, because especially with bouts of mania, if you deal with people who have to go through that challenge, it does seem to kind of go out of nowhere. Would you say those were kind of the most challenging scenes to write and shoot?
I wouldn't say that. I think they were essential to the script. So I always follow what the characters are doing, and I trust the characters to take themselves on their journey. And so it wasn't really difficult to write. And I was really lucky to have Ritesh Rajan, who plays Sunny, and he was just on his stuff. So when we were shooting it, it was just like, every take he would get it. He would get the emotion. He was there. He didn't need to build up to it. He was very much in character in the moment. And so I think maybe with another actor, it would have been difficult to shoot, but with Ritesh and even with Anna Kaja, who plays Jaya, our mom, she reacts to it in such a great way as well, that the scenes were actually very they were very fun to shoot, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely was like a flexing of an acting muscle. Even just as a viewer to see it, it was just like, okay, you would definitely have to be very focused, and everyone around you would have to react as if a person was in that situation. And it's a bit surprising and a bit confusing. And you want to be helpful, but you don't really know how to be helpful. But it's also great when, no huge spoiler, but the conversations that his sister has to support him. So that's great. Speaking of, you're talking about your Black and brown brunches and stuff like that. How has that been in Hollywood to be a woman of color and finding that support system?
You hit it right on the head. It's all about having your support system, because this career, this path is not easy, and you face a ton of rejection, and you face a ton of people saying no to you and slamming the door in your face. And it's all about picking yourself up and trying again and going to the next person and waiting for that one yes. And sometimes you are the yes. You give yourself the green light. And with this support group that I have, a lot of the blurs, we call them the blurs in the group, the blurred brunch group, they became associate producers on the movie. They became executive producers on the movie. So not only are they supporting emotionally when I have, when I'm like freaking out about someone rejecting, my audition or rejecting the film, they are also putting their money where their mouth is. So I think that's really important for Hollywood to get on board with. Like, not only do we, yes, you can talk about inclusivity all you want, but until you're actually hiring actors, writers, directors, executives that look like us, then you're not pushing the needle forward.
True. Speaking of diversity and working together, a little bit about Insecure. So you were from there when it was basically a little baby with Awkward Black Girl, and now you just had this huge finale. How does it feel to have been part of that entire story?
I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible to have met Issa on Twitter like almost over 10 years ago. And we both had like 10 followers at the time. And then she tweeted out, "Hey, I'm looking for a mixed looking girl to play my best friend on a web series." And I wrote back and I was like, "I'm not mixed, but this is what I look like, so let me know." And then I went to audition, I got the part. And then we were just like filming on the weekends in her dad's doctor's office in Inglewood. And to go from that to go to even shooting the pilot of Insecure and being surrounded by so many amazing women of color who were, calling the shots. It was so cool. And to have hair and makeup for the first time, and to have wardrobe and our trailer. And it was, I was like, whoa, to come from this teeny tiny, no budget web series to an HBO show. And then the series finale, which was, it was such a great experience, tweeting about it with everyone else that was watching, and the cast and the crew. Is just really beautiful to have been on that journey, and that journey has obviously inspired me to create my own work and put it out there.
Awesome. And were you team Lawrence or team Nathan?
Girl, I was team Daniel from day one.
Why?
I was like,
Daniel?
Where is Daniel? Are they bringing him back?
Why were you team Daniel?
He was the hottest.
I can't disagree. And at least had the least amount of baggage. Like Issa was the one.
He seemed super chill, super cool, and just like, I liked his personality on the show. And team Dan. And even the girls said it in the final season when they were all hanging out and having the girls' night. they were like, Daniel's the one that got away. And I was like, yes. Exactly.
And so what, other than your Netflix premiere, what upcoming projects do you have next?
I wrote a couple scripts over the pandemic, so I am in pre-production for my next feature film, which I'm really excited about, that I would shoot back in Pennsylvania again. And then I'm pitching a couple different shows, and I'm excited about those as well. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens.
Yes, I'm excited for you as well. And please keep me in the loop. I would love to continue to talk to you about those things. Well, thank you so much for taking out the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on your premiere.
Thank you so much, Ariana. It was good to talk to you.
Okay, you have a good one. Thank
All
you.
right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.